You married, find out you're expecting a child. What happens?
You know, we had, for a long time, wanted a family. When we did find out we were pregnant, we were ecstatic.
About halfway through the pregnancy, I was at a routine doctor's visit, and suddenly the doctor looked at me, and I could tell something was wrong.
Just from the look?
Yeah, and she said, "Melissa, you're gonna give birth to your little girl within 24 hours, and she's not gonna survive." They wheeled me right from the doctor's office in a hospital bed straight into emergency surgery, and the doctor said, "Well, we'll do all that we can to try to save her, but chances are very, very slim." Surgery was successful, which was great, but I was considered very, very, very high risk, and so high risk that I wasn't able to even get out of the hospital bed.
So you pick up knitting at this time?
I did, yes. So I started with a vision to make this baby girl blanket, and that's how time went past for me. I was in the hospital for a little over 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks. My water broke, and the doctors came in and said, at this point, there's nothing else that we can do. Her lungs weren't developed enough to make it. And so I had little baby girl, Hallie, short for Hallelujah. And she was perfect, but just too little to make it.
So as this is all unfolding, I'm curious, what were your prayers and conversations with God like?
You know, I'll never forget Rick coming into the room after Hallie was born and looking at me and saying, "Melissa, we have a decision to make. We can either be mad and bitter at God and wonder why would a good God cause this to happen, or we can choose to believe that somehow something is going to come from this."
What happened with the blanket that you started to knit for Holly?
I still have it. In fact, after we lost her, when I got back from the hospital, I continued to make it. A lot of healing came from continuing to make that blanket. Just tears shed over that yarn, over that fabric, and God just really speaking me through it.
In terms of making things with your hands, that's now your life's work,
Yes,
it seems.
yeah.
So let's get to the beginning
Yes.
of that. So
Okay.
you get out of the hospital and you're knitting socks for yourself. What happens?
And I just continued to make. And one day I wanted to make a pair of socks that had lace on the top of them so they'd stick out of the top of my boots. So because they took so long, everywhere I went, I wore them. Strangers would stop me and, "Oh my gosh, where did you get those socks?" And when I told them I make them, say, "Can I write down my phone number? Can I buy a pair from you? Will you make a pair from me?" And so my entrepreneurial husband, who's the smart one over here, was, "Why don't you put them up online and, sell them?" They sold instantly, and in a matter of 3 days, we had over 500 purchase orders for this one pair of socks.
Now, you have an idea and desire then to pitch this business that you guys have given birth to on Shark Tank.
I'm on a phone call with a good buddy that's an internet marketing genius, and he said, "I really feel like you're supposed to be on Shark Tank." He said, "You know what? I know a producer. Let me make a phone call." So within 15 minutes, we're on the phone with Shark Tank producers, telling them our story, and they said, "We love it. We have to have you guys. We're gonna bump y'all up to the very front." And I prayed for several months, and very clearly I heard Barbara Corcoran. Very clearly, like she had to be part of the deal. And if she wasn't, we were to walk out of the tank. So we went in with a tremendous amount of confidence.
Our company is Grace and Lace, and we're seeking $175,000 for a 10% equity stake in our company.
What are your sales?
Our first calendar year, 2012, we did over 800,000 in sales.
800,000?
Our last 12 months to date, we did 1.125 million in sales.
Just like God, in the very end, after an hour and a half of back and forth and intensity, Barbara said, "You know what? I'm gonna change my offer. I'm gonna give you the full offer." And
Done, finally.
oh my goodness, we were elated, absolutely elated.
How much has the business grown?
When we had aired, we had done a little over $1 million in sales, and that was a little over 3 years ago, and we've now done over 25 million in sales. So we're blown away by what God has done.
All of this starts in the hospital where you lose a child, and you guys are now helping give homes to orphans. Tell me about that partnership. What's happening?
Never in a million years would I had ever thought that we would have a business that would be so successful that we could actually build orphanages and take hundreds of kids off the streets. And that's what we've done. We've partnered with Angel House. We have built 7 orphanages.
You have some goals in mind as far as orphanages?
Absolutely. From the day one, before we opened our first orphanages, we said 100 plus. That can mean 1,000, it can mean 10,000, I don't know. I think this journey has taught us that God has so much more in store that we can't even imagine. Everyone out there goes through difficult times. You don't get through this life without it. And to be able to have a story of letting people know and encouraging people just because you've gone through something really difficult doesn't mean you have to pack it in, doesn't mean you have to be mad or bitter. You can let that tragedy fuel you to do something really good for a lot of people.